What's up, Star Wars nerds? On this edition of Hyperdrives, I want to share with you some more graded figures. I just got back from Collector Archive Services. 3 of these are vintage collection figures that I actually got autographed at the Rebel Scum Con way back in August. And then one is a very special vintage Kenner item I want to go over with you. But let's start with the signed TVC figures. And first up is my General Grievous. I actually got this signed by Matthew Wood. If you don't know, Matthew Wood is the voice of General Grievous. He also voices a number of other characters such as the B-1 battle droids, but perhaps more importantly, he's one of the main sound editors for Lucasfilm. He does a ton of sound work for Star Wars and other media as well. And just an awesome guy, great meeting him. He went to town on my card back signing everything. So I sent this off to CAS and it came back as an 85, which I was totally happy with. I knew the card back on this one was not pristine. It had a few minor dings on it. So I got that sub score of 85 for the card back, dropping the overall score to an 87.3. So flipping over to the back, you can see General Grievous is VC17. But what I wanted to show you is that CAS is now doing their own autograph authentication service. And when they do it, they do put that sticker on there. And that is signifying that the autograph is authentic. Now they do offer that service without getting grading, but I prefer to get mine authenticated and graded together whenever I get autographs. Next up is my Starkiller figure signed by Sam Witwer. If you don't know, Sam is Starkiller in the games, and he is also probably most famous in the Star Wars community as being the voice of Darth Maul in all of the animated media, and just a really talented actor and voice actor. Very cool to meet him. Now, unfortunately, the signature didn't turn out great. Now, I always like to match the ink with the name pill. In this case, it didn't really work out too well. It doesn't really pop as much as I'd like, but also he signed his name a little too quickly, so the ink kind of came out a little faded, unfortunately, but still very cool nonetheless. So the grade came back as an 85 plus with an overall score of 89.3, which again I was fine with. I thought the card back subscore was a little bit harsh because I thought this card back was in really good shape, so I was a little bit disappointed in that, but I'm not disappointed with the overall 85 plus. That's still a really good score, and really happy to finally get an autograph figure from Sam Witwer. Next up is the Armorer, signed by the Armorer herself, Emily Swallow. This, of course, is the exclusive Armorer figure that came in the Armorer's Forge playset, and I love this card back. It is my favorite of the 2 Armorer card backs. Now, this is another one where my strategy of matching the autograph ink to the name pill may have backfired as well, because it's just such a dark card back, so the autograph kind of gets lost in that darkness because it's that deep red, but it does look really good. It just doesn't pop, so I was a little bit disappointed that I went with that color after I saw it on there. But live and learn. I submitted it for grading anyways because I still think it's pretty awesome, and it came back with an awesome grade of a 95 with an exact score of 97.1. Now, the funny thing is, on the subscores for the blister subscore, they accidentally put 0, but what they meant to type there is 90. It did get a 90 for the blister, 95 for the card back, and 95 for the figure. For overall 95. Very happy with that score. That is an awesome score. Here it is on the back. It is VC331, and again, I just really love this card back. Great colors chosen for the name pill. Great image. Overall, really happy with this grade and getting Emily's autograph. Just wish I'd used a different color ink, maybe a gold, that would have made that autograph pop a little bit more. Alright, by far the most important figure of the bunch that I got in this grading order was the 41 back E Imperial Commander. Now, for those of you that follow my channel closely, you might recall this one. This is a very special figure. I was actually able to find this figure in the wild, and what's really special about this one is the owner of the store I purchased it from, he was able to acquire a sealed shipper box of Empire Strikes Back figures. They were never opened. He purchased it. He actually opened it and then sold the individual figures. I think all of them except for maybe 2 had been sold by the time I showed up at this store. And I happened to be looking for this figure, the Imperial Commander, and I noticed just how pristine it was, and that's when he told me the story. He showed me the shipper box it came out of, and he made me a great deal. I was so excited. I mean, this thing was absolutely breathtaking. I mean, it basically looked like a brand new figure, as if it was like a custom retro figure or whatever. But this was a very prominent, well-known store, and I knew this guy wouldn't scam me. I knew this was legit, but I definitely wanted to get it graded because, one, to authenticate that it is actually the real deal, and two, because I thought had a very good chance of at least getting 85 plus or maybe even a 90, which is basically unheard of in the vintage Kenner world. So I sent it off to CAS with very high hopes, and unfortunately things didn't go as quite as well as I had hoped. A couple of things. One, and the biggest issue, is that during shipping on the way back, the gun actually came dislodged from the cellophane tape, and that is very common on these Empire Strikes Back figures. I'd say the majority of the ones I own that have accessories, the accessory is off the tape. They just did not use a really good cellophane tape on these, and so it's not shocking. This kind of thing does happen. I've talked about this in a video I've done on the pros and cons of grading, is that when you're shipping, especially vintage items, there is a risk for something to go wrong during shipping. Now, one thing that CAS does that I really like is they take a high-res photo of your item as soon as it's been graded, so you can see the state of it at that time. And so from that photo, I know that at some point on its way to CAS, the bottom of the cellophane tape came undone from the inside of the blister, and the gun was still stuck to the tape, but then when it made its way back to me, the gun completely fell out of the tape. So that's unfortunate, but not the end of the world. And the other unfortunate thing was the actual grade I got was not what I was hoping for. Again, I was hoping for at least an 85 plus, but I ended up getting an 85 with an actual score of 87.2 with straight 85s on the sub scores. Now, this is a great score for any vintage Kenner figure. I really should be happy. It was just because of the circumstances of it being in a sealed shipper box and just being like new that I'm disappointed in the 85. I'm not sure, but perhaps the tape coming loose did hurt the overall score a bit, although that usually affects the figure sub-score, and the figure sub-score was the same as the others. I'm just not really sure why they were so low. The blister is pristine. The card back is like a brand new TVC card back. Really had no issues. So I just think CAS is just being really tough. And, you know, for those of you that think CAS grades easier than AFA, I'm here to tell you that's not the case anymore. I've had experiences with both AFA and CAS, and in the last year to 2 years at least, CAS has really gotten tougher on their grading. And I guarantee you, had I sent this figure to AFA, it would not have graded lower than an 85. A lot of people think if you get an 85 in CAS, that would have been an 80 at AFA, but there is no way AFA would have given this figure an 80. There's just no way. It's just way too pristine. And I think this is CAS's way of showing that they are every bit as meticulous at grading items as AFA. All that being said, now that the gun has come completely out of the tape, I actually feel that 85 is a completely fair grade. And so if I were ever to sell this to somebody as an 85 grade, I think they can be confident that this is a fair grade for the item versus, for example, if it had graded 85 plus and then the gun came completely out of the tape, then I wouldn't feel too good about that actually still being an 85 plus. And so maybe when CAS graded it, that's what they were thinking, is that it's just a matter of time before that gun falls off. And so they were somewhat protecting themselves from giving it an 85 plus and then having the gun fall off and it not being a true 85 plus anymore. So all in all, if the gun was going to come out, it's really for the best that CAS graded it what they did. So I'm pretty much at peace with it at this point. So sorry for that very long rant about this, but whenever I have experiences like this with grading, I do like to share the details with you guys. So if you're a collector who is just getting into grading or you're thinking about getting into grading, you can kind of learn from the experiences that I have, so you can kind of set those expectations. And with that figure back from grading, here's a look at my latest collection of Empire Strikes Back vintage Kenner figures. I'm trying to get all of the characters specifically from Empire Strikes Back, and it's coming along nicely. And to close things out, here's one last look at all 3 TBC figures I got autographed and graded, and of course my 41 back E Imperial Commander. I hope you've enjoyed this grading experience I've shared with you. Thanks for watching.